Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. You're listening to The Road to Enlightenment. I am your host, Kellie Fitzgerald. My guest today has been on my show before. She's one of my best friends. What better person to spend a Valentine's Day show with? Jody Doty. Welcome to the show. I know today's a really busy day for you, but thanks so much for taking the time to be here.
Well, thanks for the love. It's always great being on the show with one of my favorite pals here. So thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
You know, one of the things, everybody knows you as the soul reader, Jody Doty soul reader. One of the things that I have heard from so many people in the last, what's it been, several months now, is, wow, what a fabulous book. So I thought we'd start the show today talking about your new book. It's been out for, like I said, a couple of months. It's Divine Exploration and Moon Soul Musing, a poetic wandering along the river. I've been sort of collecting comments and questions for you. And one of the most common questions I've received from anyone is, where on earth do you come up with these beautiful, beautiful words that you write?
I ask myself the same thing, actually. Where did that come from? And actually, I was reading a Facebook post the other day that had a beautiful picture, and I got all the way to the last line and realized it was my words. I didn't even recognize them. It was fabulous. But, they come through my meditations. I meditate daily. I find that my best writings come at 4 a.m. for whatever reason, 3 or 4 a.m. And I think that happens with a lot of us. It's a very divine, a very magical time. But I will just ask, what am I meant to hear? Or what is the message for today? Or what needs to be shared with maybe someone I know or lots of people? It's very often that there'll be a very common theme that comes through. So at first I thought it was very personal. I'd get these beautiful words that would come, and I would post them to my Facebook page. And I found that a lot of friends thought the words were for them. You wrote this for me. And it's like, well, sure. So a lot of the themes are very universal. They seem to just come at the right timing. I am a soul reader, so I'm very intuitive. And I think sometimes they are specific to maybe some friends of mine or some people that are going through some things that just need to hear a certain message at a certain time. I think that's how it works. It's kind of that synchronicity where, the words just come and they kind of reverberate to whomever they're supposed to touch or reach. And I really try to be, just like in my soul readings, I try to be a very clear channel, a very open channel to the divine, to my source, and just let the words come to me. And then they pour out my fingertips onto, often I write them on my phone and then transfer them. So I do a lot. It's just very simple. And in that quiet space at 3 or 4 a.m., just letting the words come and sharing them onto the page. And I may tweak them a little bit later, try and find a poster to put with them, but the words just pour through me. And, it really started when I did a meditation probably a year and a half, because I've only been writing a couple of years. It's just amazing to me. I always liked, I'm not like you. I'm not one of those people that have been writing all my life. I did this meditation on creativity, and because I was like, I'm not sure if I'm really that creative, and I had a real limited definition of what creativity was. So
apparently,
I'm not creative, which really was a big lie in my what I would call a lie in my space. It was a belief that was so totally not true. But I had to put that up to the divine, and I said, what is creativity? And so when I put that message up and asked for it in my meditation, that's when I released all limits to what is creative. Just having a body is creative. Just, every moment is a creation.
Right.
Everything we do is our own creation in this world, along with our source and with those around us. So I had to look at creativity in a much broader perspective. And as soon as I let go of my limits, any kind of cultural, any kind of, that it's only those that are artists or musicians, it's every one of us. We're all creative. And so as soon as I let go of the limits to creativity, the words just poured through. And they've been pouring through ever since. I mean, I was just amazed. It was almost like such a huge gift. I knew I had to share it. I had to just get them out. In fact, I had a book signing just the other day, and I was telling the folks at the book signing that one of the most beautiful poems I ever wrote came to me while I was standing in line at the Pizza Hut. And I know you've done this. I had to go grab a napkin, run out to my car, write it down before I lost it, because I also know when I'm in that space, and it can be, you can be inspired anytime, even in the middle of a line at the Pizza Hut at 5:00. When it comes, you're meant to pay attention. You're meant to write it down, because sometimes that's your moment, and if you don't get it down, you'll miss it. It's really, right. I tell that to people in my soul readings. It's really about just being open and paying attention, and let the information from the divine come through you, and that's where the words come from.
I have someone messaging me a question. It's actually kind of a two-part question. The first part of this is, what exactly is a soul reader? And I know we've talked about this before, but that's part one of her question. And she follows that up with, do you think that being a soul reader also helps you be a channel for your words?
Yes. Soul reader, I am, it's by both nature and nurture. I've always been very intuitive. It's a gift that's within my family. So a soul reader to me is somebody who has like I said earlier, a clear channel to the divine. Mm-hmm. I have a very strong clairvoyant gift, meaning I see in colors, symbols, words, I hear music. I have a lot of divine gifts, and we all do. Everyone has their own different types of gifts from the divine. Mine happen to be that I can see very clearly. I have just a clear spiritual sight, that people know that as a third eye. And I'm just very open. I spend a lot of time using cosmic Windex and a squeegee to keep it clean. It's my little joke, but it's through meditation, and I just try to release and be very neutral and very open. And that makes me what I call a soul reader, because when I look at someone, especially in a reading, when I see them, I don't just see the physical like everyone else. I see that too, but I kind of see beyond that. And sometimes I'm given beautiful messages from the divine, or I'm a symbol will come in, or I'll hear something about the person, and so I pay attention to those gifts. And that's what I use as a soul reader. And a lot of times that gift is very helpful, because we get so absorbed in the physical world that we forget that we have this beautiful soul within us that is actually should be driving us a little more, I think, than it does. But we have both. We have our body, and we have a beautiful spirit, a beautiful soul within us. And in my mind, our two greatest agreements are with our body and our soul, and our soul and our God. And if I can combine those and just help provide some clarity, help someone release, like I just said, a limit in their space, like I'm not creative. That's what I do as a soul reader, is I just take the time to sit and ask for, and I'm in a kind of a different space. I'm in more of a meditative place, and I just allow the words to come that represent that person, or I'll use a symbol. I'm really great with symbols. I like to see in clocks and gauges, and I really like to give people practical ways to tune into themselves or to release things they've taken on that keep them from really being in their body. As a soul reader, I'm a little different maybe than some folks that are psychics. I mean, I am psychic. That's part of it. I'm a clairvoyant. I'm an intuitive. I'm also a medium. I also get messages from those that have passed on. I see those. I can, relay messages. But my big focus is not the future, and I think that's one of the differences with, say, my soul readings versus a different psychic or another intuitive. Even though I see the future, I really believe that we create that every moment, and you create changes just in a reading, just in a soul reading. You can create a lot of change in that moment by changing your perspective, by having a different, kind of a higher learning or a higher message that makes you go, maybe I don't want to go in that direction. So it's just a beautiful gift, and I did go to seminary for this as well. I mean, I'd always had the gift. I wanted to refine it and be able to use it to help people, and the seminary really helped me with that because that's where I started meditation. Meditation really, for me, was the key to being able to ground myself. And I've always been very connected to this reality, but very open to seeing the beautiful symbols that we have from the divine and how you can incorporate those in your life to live a better life. And that's really my goal, is helping people to see themselves in both a divine and a physical perspective, and to really come home to them. I call it being home to you, to bring their spirit within their body. I mean, I often tell my clients, you can do your hokey pokey with your spirit. Your spirit can be any time. Your body is finite, so you can bring your spirit into your body. That's really why we're here. We have these bodies because we're meant to operate beautifully through them. A lot of people spend time kind of out of their body quite a bit, and that's okay from time to time because, when you're going through an illness or, there is a lot of healing that takes place outside the body. But for the most part, it's really such a joy to operate through the body, and that's what I like. In addition to being a soul reader where I see, I would say a lot of my work is also healing, spiritual counseling, where I help the person to really be more home, to come to, and I do this with divine assistance to bring them more into the body because, sometimes when they say, gee, she's a little beside herself, sometimes people literally are. Their spirit is next to their body. They're truly not in their body. They're beside themselves, and I like to bring them home, to bring them up and help them using beautiful divine assistance. And I'm not a Reiki person. I'm a minister. I work with the God Source, and I just ask for assistance, lots of assistance as I'm doing my work. I know I'm just a channel, I'm an assistance, and that's what I'm meant to do. So that's a very long explanation of soul reader, but hopefully that's helpful. And does that help with my words? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think everyone can do this. I think it's a matter of quieting your mind and just being still long enough to kind of let the words just come. And that's how it happened with me. The words just came. Do I have an angel, or is it my higher self helping me to allow those words to come through? Absolutely. And every one of us has that capacity to be still and just let whatever gift is meant to come through them, make itself present and grab onto that and allow it. For me, it happens to be the words. Before it was, I did a lot with dance. When I was when I was a kid, I did a lot of dancing, and that was my meditation. Everyone has their own different gift. And now for me, it's the soul reading. Lately, my clear hearing's opened up, so I'm hearing more. But there's so many spiritual gifts. It's just a matter of tuning into, what works for you and allowing them to come forth. And that's why we're here. That's the beauty of, us being here and having these bodies and allowing ourselves to operate and live the best life we can by operating through the body.
Do you find, and I want to back up for a little bit, or for a minute here on something that you said, and I want to expand on that a little bit more. Do you find that people are kind of surprised when they find out that you actually did go through seminary and you are also doing the soul reading work? A lot of times, I know in my own experience, people, not a lot of people anymore, it seems to be more and more widely accepted, that there was a time when people really thought that those things were mutually exclusive. You couldn't work with God. You couldn't work with a Christ energy and also work in the psychic realms. What has your experience with that been?
Right. And, you know, that is so true. I did have that experience early on. It's kind of funny. I actually had a couple people come. One young man I remember in particular, and I went to a church. I went to Church of Divine Man in Everett, and I owe them a lot of my heart for helping me to ground and just accept all the beautiful gifts that I have, and that's what they do. They're very open. But it is an interesting combination of Eastern and Western because it actually is a Christian church, but it has meditation and healing components. To me, it was a perfect blend. But yes, is that accepted? It was a little interesting early on. I think it's getting much better. But what I've found is that it's really what operates through you the best. I had a young man that was a friend of a friend who was a very Christian man. And, you know, I think for some people there's that concept, if you're using your clairvoyance or your psychic gifts, which are God-given gifts, actually, in my mind,
right.
You're operating with the occult, or it's, it's something scary. And so he came here, I think, came to my hut, and that, I guess, was a very courageous moment for him because I think he was going to come confront me about what I was doing with, and it was interesting because I said, come on in, have a reading, and he loved it. He loved it because he realized, when we are operating through the divine, opening to our divine self and allowing our gifts, I was doing, it was just my form of prayer, which was different than his form of prayer, but it was the same love that we opened to. And he even hugged me when he left. I think it's just that perspective. People are afraid or they don't understand or they, but if you are really operating and using the gifts that you have, people recognize that and it allows them or opens them up to be able to have their gifts come through as well. And that's kind of what happened. It was really an opening for him. It opened his eyes that there are different ways to pray and there are different ways that we channel the divine. Even the word channel is, people have some, there's a little fear about that. But, we're all channels to the divine in some way, and we all have gifts. And so that was just one way. In fact, I used to use that in my, use some of the gifts in my workplace, and I worked in family law for years with lawyers, so it was kind of interesting. But I also know that using that helped to calm the energy in the room. So there's a lot of benefit. But yeah, I think it's getting more accepted. I really do. I think there are more, actually, as far as church itself, because I am an ordained minister, but I really believe in my heart of hearts that we're going to be moving to where it's really about connecting with our churches within ourselves, and we will be connecting with each other, and it won't matter what building that's where I'd like to see it go. It doesn't matter. It's not about the building. It's not about where you are. It's about having that connection and that communion with the divine and with each other. Unfortunately, that's so. It's kind of we're missing the point right now, but I think we're getting there. I think sometimes you have to have I'm talking about the world right now, or our country. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to get a shake-up in order to awaken. And to really remember, that there's so much beauty and so much that we're similar. about each other, and that we're supposed to be operating through, and remembering that, you're not unlike me, kind of like the gentleman that came to see me, and that was such an amazing, it was really God working through me, and that's what happens with the gift. It's just God working through, and whatever is meant to happen has happened. I'm just very open.
We have another question saying, is it a good thing or a bad thing if you get more than one psychic reading? And I'm not sure if they're talking about on the same subject or just on different things. But I know in my own experience, it seems like sometimes people kind of go a little maybe overboard, and I think it's wonderful to get clarity, but I think since we each have the answers already inside ourselves, it's sort of like, no, I don't want that sign. No, I don't want that sign. No, I don't want that. No, I want a different answer. I want a different answer. And the answers are the answers. So how would you respond to that?
That's kind of funny because it reminds me, I actually have a client that came to me, and I don't remember my readings because they come through me, and I think I'd implode if I remembered all of them, but they are meant for the other person. And she apparently asked me the same question 5 times, 5 different readings. I didn't give her the answer she wanted, I guess. So I'm going to quit answering that question or asking that question because it's always the same. See, I think it really depends as far as, I think there are people that can become addicted to psychics.
Right. I think so too.
And sure, if you wanted to go to one, if you wanted to go to maybe even a second one to get it, to see if it's a similar, especially if it's a kind of a crisis time in your life or you're in a big transition or whatever. But I would say if you want a whole bunch of different viewpoints at one time, go to a little psychic fair and get little mini looks, because that's not quite as overwhelming for your body. But you do have a lot of your own information. And I sometimes I'll tell people that, sometimes the picture doesn't come, and I'll say, it's not coming because you know this. You have this information. Right. And we don't always validate how much we really, we have a master's degree in universal wisdom right within our own bodies, right within our, our crown chakra. And sometimes we don't validate how much information we have within ourselves, and it's great to go get help. But and I tell that when I do soul readings, some of my soul readings take 60 to 90 minutes. They're very in-depth. And I like that. It's it's a counseling session in some ways. And I only do the really in-depth ones probably every month and a half to 2 months, because your body has to have time to process it. And that's what I recommend. And I also, ask people, recommend that they get some help in releasing afterwards too, because it brings up a lot of memory. But, soul readings, it gets right to it. The pictures, the symbols, it's right there. And it's, I think it's really very quick to get to the point and show you absolutely right now in this moment what you're working on. And that's one of the benefits of it. It's not a lot of going up into the brain or reading about it or talking about it. It's just, here's what I see, here's what you're working on. And sometimes it's just getting that validation that, it's a really tough time, but this is why, or this is what my soul's wanting to do next, or this is why I'm having a hard time letting go of it. To get right to that in a reading is very helpful, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, just to have that validation, you're going through a hard time. That can be so helpful for healing. Like, yes, I am, and okay, that's all right. I'm going to,
right.
This is the worst it's going to be. I can move forward from here. It starts such healing.
Well, and one of the things, just to expand a little bit on that always gets me with readings is it's really more about keeping people in present time. And you mentioned before, even though we see the future, that can change. And if you get, in my experience anyway, if you get a reading today and then 3 days from now you get a reading from someone else, they may be entirely different because we have conscious choice. we have freedom of choice. And you could make a decision immediately after a reading that will change your course. And I think sometimes people don't really understand that. We are constantly manifesting our own future every second.
Right.
So, it's really tough. People tend to want to get a tarot reading. I do tarot readings, and people want to know, well, what am I going to be doing in 7 years? Well, I don't know what you're going to be doing in 7 days. Much, I just want to make that point because we do have free will, and you can always change your course.
Absolutely. And sometimes I do see the future, and I don't always express it for that reason, that because you very much, may change. I mean, that's your future right at this moment. But like you say, it's like dipping your foot into the river, and every moment the river's a little different. So, and you can change that. If I said, I see that, I see your soul wants to be an astronaut, and then you would, just for instance, and you're thinking, boy, I better move to Houston and I better get those science books out. That's why it's not helpful, because maybe at that moment you're looking at being an astronaut, and then, wow, you have an experience, you go to the hospital, you're like, gee, I want to be a nurse. These are, it's really your soul's desire, what you create, and it's very interactive. But you're right. The present moment, that's what body's like. When you're kind of focused in the future, your body tends to go into a lot of fear and anxiety. It's because I don't know what's going to happen. But operating through the now and letting yourself have that free will to create your life every moment as you're meant to, at what comes up, because that's part of the spark when you meet other people or when you read a book and suddenly you're inspired. It's interactive, it's free will. That's where the desire comes from. And it's not from someone telling you, I see you happen to have this interest right now, because that interest very well you could run with it, or you could change it up entirely and do something different. That's the beauty of life.
Exactly. And I think people kind of get caught up in looking outside for the answers when they need to be looking inside. That's just something I have seen, particularly recently. You mentioned the political climate and the things that were going on in the U.S., and I think a lot of people are very scared, and I think they're very frustrated, and they're losing patience, and they're wanting someone to give them the answer. They're wanting someone else to make things better, and they're really, really outside of themselves. I think right now a lot of people are.
I think that's
so
true.
How do we how do we deal with that? How do we stay calm? How do we help people let go of that anger and that frustration and all of that ickiness?
I know and I've had a lot of clients come to me that are very angry about it. And first, you do have to acknowledge the anger, because that's very valid in your body. I just find I like to use imagery and symbols when someone comes in, they're very angry, to imagine a waterfall. That's one of the ones I use, a waterfall from the heavens to the center of the earth, and fill in that waterfall 100% of my anger, and let it run through me and validate it, and let it have a place to go that isn't outside myself. When you throw anger outward, like it's happening, a lot, you see what happens. It just kind of, it either boomerangs back to you and it fuels more, or it dissipates and you don't even get, the benefit of it. So to allow that energy to flow through you and release it, but then to ask for, clarity to flow through you, or ask for your highest love or the highest result you would like. Make that interactive. What is the most loving thing I can bring through to my body that will, because when you're healing yourself, when you allow that love to come through you, that heals everyone around you. We're all, we all have that capacity to change the world, and I think we forget that, and we think it's all outside of ourselves, that we have to do it, and, you have to find that outside, and and everyone comes to it in their own way, but that's just the way I help people to deal with it, to allow them to, yes, acknowledge the emotions, but also to bring, the wisdom within, to tune into the wisdom they have, to release fear, which fear, again, it's being outside yourself, it's looking at the future, it's not being in this moment. I liken that to just very simply, I've had a lot of very awful dental experiences, and so when I even think I'm going to the dentist, my body goes into fear. But when I'm there in the dental chair, I'm absolutely fine. And why is that? Because I'm very much in my body. I'm very present. And when you're in your body and you're very present in this moment, and that can be as simple as patting your leg and telling yourself the date. It's amazing how many people, when you ask them what day it is, they'll come up with a different year. That's the problem. We're not really home. We're not really in our bodies. But that's where, where you operate the best, and it's the least amount of fear for your body. But, meditate and allow the waterfall of love, waterfall of peace. Fill yourself with what you want to feel within the planet, and go from there. Operate from that place. If we all did that, it wouldn't be nearly as painful or it would be easier just to accept as things are and move forward. I think anger just keeps us stuck in place.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I really feel like it's something we're all working through at our own pace, and we'll all come out the other side.
Yep.
I have a question here which brings us right back where I wanted to go, which is your book. Where did the title come from? Now, you have a unique title for your book, and you've talked about waterfalls, and the subtitle for your book is A Poetic Wandering Along the River. So water, I'm getting water, is very important to you in some respects.
Yeah.
But someone has asked, divine explorations and moon soul musings, where did that come from? Now, I added the question about the river, but she wants to know about the first part.
Where did that... I just love this about this book because it was exactly a year ago. It may have even been a year ago to today. I had a dream. I fell asleep and had a dream, and in my dream, I saw myself holding the book. And it's the book that is out now. It's this beautiful book. That's how I knew I was meant to write it, because I saw the book in a dream. And this is the title that was on the book in the dream. Divine Explorations and Moon Soul Musings was the title. And I actually woke up and wrote it down because I was and I think it's kind of I added the poetic wandering along the river later, because when I found that I was bringing the words together, there was kind of a theme like a river, and I think the river, that's our life. There are themes that weave in and out of our life, and I like that symbolism of the river, because we are, we're dipping in and out of the river, and to me the river is a very divine symbol. Just like the moon. I have a strong affinity with the moon. I think it's the feminine. I think it's the mystery. I think it's our intuitive nature. It's that dreamy part of us that sometimes we don't allow during the day. A lot of us do, and you could more with meditation and music and the arts. There's a big dedication in the front of the book to my friends who are musicians and poets and artists, and because I think they just bring that beauty that, color our lives so well. But the title really was in the dream, and I saw the book, and here it is. I mean, it's just so surreal for me. But it really, I guess the message there is to pay attention to your dreams. And it's so amazing how quickly you can actually make them come true, how quickly if you hold to that intention and you just and you go for it, and you can do that at any age. I mean, I was 58. I'm 58. I just turned 59. But I was 58 when I put that book together, and so it's not like I'm in my 20s here. So when, there's no perfect time, just pay attention, keep going for the dream, and when it's meant to happen, it will. And I love that. It just kind of came through me, and this is what happened with my seminary as well. Before I was, I did my seminary, I kind of had resisted it, actually. It's like, no, churches. And what you resist happens, and that's why I've been ordained twice, I think. But, I saw myself in seminary, and for me, that's a really big clue that if you're seeing yourself there as spirit, in spirit, I'm already there. In spirit, the book is out there. I just need to let go of my body fear and go for it. And I think that's where we get stuck. I think a lot of times people do see the dream, or they have hints of what they should be doing, but they have the fear that comes up for them about, can I really do it, or is this real, or there's so many fears that come up for us that kind of keep us from it. And I got to tell you, when I let go of that fear and I just switched, I kind of, it was also been a year ago that I quit my corporate job, and I'm doing the soul readings, and I'm doing my writing, and I have never been happier. It's just amazing to me, because when you're following your passion, when you're doing what you love, it just changes your life. And
it does. It absolutely does. When you get to the point where you wake up every day and you're like, oh, thank you, I get to do this again. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Such a joy to be at the book signing, to be holding this book and saying, this book was in my dream a year ago, and here it is, and you can do the same thing. Not necessarily write a book. Everyone has their own dream, but you can make it happen. It's actually much easier than we. It's all our belief system, and I just believe very strongly that the book was meant to be. And I also know that I have another book coming, so I'm holding on to that right now. It's like, yes, I have a children's storybook I can't wait to get out. And I've actually already seen that as well. So for me, dreams are very helpful, and you can always put that out before you go to sleep. What am I meant to do? What am I meant to see? What is supposed to happen? Or, that's one of those, having your own wisdom and allowing your source or the divine or the God of your heart, whatever that is to you, that higher love, your higher self, allowing it to show you what you're meant to do. And we get those in glimpses. I mean, we hear them in music, we get them in fortune cookies, we hear it in conversations, and it's just amazing. But it's a matter of letting go of our fear and paying attention and just taking that step and doing it. So I'm so happy people like the book. I'm getting a lot of wonderful comments about the book. I think the thing that's nice about it is that it's very relatable. There are pieces in the book that are soul writings. I tuned into, people allowed me to look at them, and I tuned into the messages, and some of those universal, beautiful words about people, about elements. The human elements, one of the chapter. Some of it's about nature. There's a lot there about nature. I think nature is so healing, not just water, but, the trees, the leaves, the sky, the earth. There's so much healing in that for us because, we're part of all of it, and yet we're our own human tree, as I call it, our human nature. So I love piecing together, kind of using the river, all of a lot of just the beautiful things that have come through the divine and the beautiful elements. And I think there are things in there that touch everybody in different ways. And the nice thing about it, it's the type of book that you could just, I have a friend that reads it at bedtime. You could just open it, and it's what is meant to speak to your soul at that time. It's kind of very. I think it's very calming. I'd like to think, and when I wrote it, it was. To be from my heart to others and to just inspire or to help them get more in touch with their own soul, or to help them open up and have the divine perspective in addition to the body perspective, kind of a a culmination or maybe an extension of soul reading per se.
One of the things you said, you write and then everybody thinks it's written for them. I asked I gave your book to several people as gifts, and it was really interesting to me that 3 out of the 5 people came back to me with the same thing because I asked for opinions. And you wrote a very short thing, Dreamer's Heart. And in my Dreamer's Heart, I'd like to think the stars wish upon us too. And each one of those 3 people who do not know each other said, yes, I think that as well. So it's really, I thought, wow, that's very telling when you do write such beautiful words that are so relatable to so many people. Do you have one that particularly you're fond of, or I'm sure that probably changes from moment to moment? But
when I did my book signing, I read probably 9 pieces, which is a lot, but it was really fun and people wanted to hear more. But I realized I'm saying, and this is one of my favorites. And it's like, wow, how many favorites do you have? I love all of them. They come from, they're different, and they come from such a different place. And actually, I have to say, not all of them are. Some of them are tough. I mean, I have some pieces on domestic violence and some other ones, but it's coming from the divine perspective, and that's what I like about it. One of my favorites, and it's a little bit of a long one, but I'll read it quickly. And I read this the other day, is The Old Farmhouse. And this is one of the few that I guess it made me cry when the words came through. So I know it came, but it also is very much touches my heart because I'm from the Midwest, and I think it just personifies for me, pieces of me. So The Old Farmhouse. There's something about an old farmhouse sitting alone in an open field with a few shade trees that inspires and makes me smile. Perhaps it's my Midwest roots or my love of nature's land and heaven's sky meeting at early dawn and colorful dusk. There's a certain comfort in knowing the house has survived many cold winters and sweltering summers and yet remains steadfast and sturdy, a little worn but unpretentious in its welcoming beauty. I can just imagine the warmth provided generations of family, the kids and grandkids who enjoyed playing on the sunny porch or swinging happily in the old tire swing. As I grow older, I can relate to the mom-like quality the farmhouse exudes, its strength, resilience, and caring comfort, its peaceful quiet filled with memories. When I pass from this earth, I hope to be like an old farmhouse, extending my welcoming soul into the arms of God and watching the light of my being as it joins in an exquisite moment of sunrise in spirit and sunset in body to forever be an eternal porch light and a symbol of the way home. And I just love that.
It's beautiful. You can just picture the farmhouse and, kids playing and, holiday gatherings and all of those sorts of things. Your words paint beautiful pictures. And
that's in lieu of being able
special
to paint. The very first piece in the book, it's called the first chapter is River Birth. The very first piece is probably my most requested whenever I posted on Facebook. It's one of the early ones I wrote when I was doing early blogging, and it's still it's very simple, but I think it shows that we're all trying to find our place. We're trying to retrieve who we are. We're trying to put ourselves together. It's called Recollection. She went about collecting pieces of her soul that were lost, taken, and scattered about the universe until at last she became whole, a beautiful mosaic of self-love and forgiveness. With that, she began the next chapter in the masterpiece that is her life.
I love that.
I think that's about present time. I think that's about reclaiming who you are. bringing it together, being, and just moving from this moment. This is your time. And I think there's something very powerful about that. I think we really need to hear that and remind ourselves that, we can be whole right in this minute and operate and gather those pieces of ourselves that we feel like we've lost and scattered and are all over, and come together and just, join. Just be the best we can in this moment and move from here. Even with the broken pieces, like a mosaic, even with all the pieces that are scattered, we can bring them back and we can reclaim our power and reclaim who we are and move from this moment.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that so many people that I know that have read the book have taken away is that we are all on the same path. When you read something that someone has written and so many people relate to it, it really does bring home the concept that we are all connected and we are all in this together. We have someone who is trying to call in, and they've dropped a couple of times, so I'm going to try to get them on again. Hello, are you there?
Hello, yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, we lost you there for a second. Just got you back.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking my call.
Do you have a question for Jody?
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to figure out where I fit. I live in like the Central Florida area, and I'm kind of feeling drawn to move over to the Gulf Coast side. But I have a little resistance to making the move. Like, there's a little bit of fear, and it's like on one hand I'm, excited about doing it, but then there's a little fear and trepidation of, oh my gosh, can I do this? So it's like I want to get my life moving forward and kind of find my niche, or
Have you gone to a life coach? Because I know Kellie's a life coach, or someone that can help you work through the fear. What keeps you there? Because I'm getting that, intuitively that you're ready to make a change. I'm getting that you're having a big call to move. It's just getting through the body fear, kind of like the dream I had where I resisted. And sometimes going to see somebody, a life coach, or getting a soul reading, for instance. And I think Kellie will give some information. If you want to contact me for a soul reading, I can really look at that maybe in a little more depth. And but that would be really helpful for you right now, because I'm just seeing you're kind of at the point of transition where you're ready to make a shift, and it's just how do you do it? So yeah,
it's like the first step, It's like, oh, what if I fail? What if I, the what ifs that all.
That we all have, absolutely, and that's where the creation starts, is right at that place of what if, what's possible, and going for it. So thanks for calling.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, ladies.
You too.
You too.
Just a mini soul reading.
Right. Now is a great time if you want to tell people how they can contact you and how they can find out information on working with you. This would be a perfect time to do that.
Sure. You can reach me on my website, jodydoty.com, so JODYDOTY.com, the woman with the rhyming name. And also I have several pages on Facebook, but it's Jody Doty Soul Reader is my business, so you can reach me Facebook, Jody Doty Soul Reader, and phone call 253-381-9646. You can text me if you would like, and really most of my contact information is on jodydoty.com, as well as the tab with the radio show I have, Divine Explorations with Jody Doty. That's on your network, Kellie, on the Positive Transformation Network. And so there's a lot of information in there if you have questions about soul readings. It really has some great explanations of how I see and how I operate and how it could benefit you, because it's always nice to have a different perspective, to see things from, not from the limited body view, but, why things are happening or how we hold on to things or what symbols we're creating through that can be changed so that we can really live in a more positive way with the gifts we have, using them and operating through our bodies that way.
Absolutely. Clarity is a huge thing that I know people get from working with you is you kind of feel from time to time like you're banging your head against a brick wall. And just having that, why is this happening, and that sort of direction and the clarification of what you need to be working on is very, very valuable. I really do encourage everyone to get in touch with Jody if you are interested at all. She will definitely help you.
I'm also
we have a few minutes.
I have a new gig. And it's interesting.
Yes.
It's in Gig Harbor, which is where I live, and it's a new gig. But I'm reading in a brand new metaphysical shop called Intuitive Alchemy, and I love the name. But
yes.
So I also do readings, and I have some book signings coming up. So I have a lot going. It's very exciting from the last time I talked to you, Kelly, how much is happening.
I know.
So.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. So, see, we are, once again, exactly on the same wavelength.
Oh, yeah.
You do have
we share
the
a
readings
book
coming up. Yes, we do.
Literally.
So, yes, we do. You have a calendar too. Let's talk
yes.
about the calendar, because it is it's absolutely beautiful. And it is sort of an extension from your book. So that's available on Amazon. Mm-hmm.
Yes, both the calendar and the book, Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And the calendar actually, it has some different writings that are in the book. So if you're wanting
yes.
a complement to the book, it's not the same writings necessarily. There may be one or two that are the same, but they're different variations and they're different writings. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I actually sold some calendars at the book signing because, people, the illustrations by Leah Freyday, and she's wonderful, are amazing. So I have that calendar. I also have a little calendar that my husband did with letterpress. So I have a couple calendars that have my sayings and writings on them. But, very beautiful. So both the book and the calendar are available and hopefully inspiring for people that, just to get that different perspective every day and to see the beauty. That's what I hope to also share through the book and the calendar is to see the beauty in the divine and to share that.
Absolutely. We have someone else who was trying to call in and they dropped. So we have about maybe about 7 minutes left. If you have a quick question, please call back in. Try it again. For some reason, Blog Talk is hanging up on people this morning or today. It happens from time to time, so sorry about that. Please try it again.
It does.
Anything
and I
else
want to thank you, Kelly, because you published this book. You've been my big supporter. You encouraged me to share my words, and I just want to take this moment just to acknowledge how much you do through Path Magazine, through your Ibby Lane Press, on your page, and with so many lucky people who happen to have you cross their path, who you've reached out to. You are, I know I did a poem, I wrote a poem for you, and I don't remember the title, but you help people create their dreams. You help make them real, and that's such a beautiful gift that you bring to the planet, and I just want to acknowledge that and thank you on this day of love. I want to share some love with you. So thank you, Kellie Fitzgerald, for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And, I love returned in buckets and spades. It's wonderful. It's absolutely a joy, the place that I am at now in my life. It was a long time coming, but I'm absolutely proof that it is never too late and you can overcome anything and keep going for your dreams, because it really is a joy to be able to work with people such as yourself and many other people. We've mentioned Leah Friede, amazing. I call her the goddess of graphics. So it's my pleasure, really. So you mentioned earlier in the show your next book. Any idea on when people might see that?
I'm hoping it'll be this year for sure. I'm hoping. I don't know. I've already got the illustrations. I've got to put the words together. I wrote it a year ago. It's my heart. It's multi-generational, and I'm hoping that it'll be out, maybe in the summer or early fall at the very latest. I definitely want it out in early fall, but I think it'll be. It's one of the words are just very close to my heart, and it's about our inner child, but it's all of us. It's about reminding us of the beauty of our inner soul and our inner child, and sharing that message, especially in times of challenge, that we can always get back to who we are.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing that one completed. We have a couple minutes left. Do you want to leave us with some positive advice or words or information that you feel that would be appropriate for Valentine's Day? This is Valentine's Day. No matter when you guys are listening to the show, we're doing this live on Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Every day is Valentine's Day. Love yourself. Allow the love that, the love that is within you to expand. Open your heart. Let it come to you and let it flow outward. I know I did a piece about, we're so anxious to look outside of ourselves to find love, to find, the message to find, and it's all right within you. It's just a matter of opening your heart and letting the love fill you and let it flow from there, and then the love that's meant to be with you. Be the love that you want in the world, and that's really the big message.
That is beautiful, and that's the perfect way to end the show. Thank you so much for being my guest, as always. I know you've been my guest several times, and I just love having you on the show, so thank you again.
It's always a joy being your guest on the show, Kellie.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. You guys have a very, very, very blessed, wonderful, beautiful Valentine's Day, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.